Doot, 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 doot. All right, for whatever reason. Yeah, thank you, Peter. Yeah, for whatever reason, worked in testing, didn't work here. Now it's back on. There we go. Well, hey, this is Mr. Justin with Secret Weapon Miniatures. I am glad to be back for another Workbench Wednesday. Shout out to Peter for letting me know the sound wasn't working. Glad that got sorted out. Today, also a shout out to Daniel H. For the request to do a bit of work with the Secret Weapon weathering acrylics on some engines. So I'm going to play with that today. I'm really excited to do that and get going on that. Really simple setup today, no airbrush, anything like that. It's just going to be straight brushes and the Secret Weapon acrylics, and that's it. Of course, first, let me thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate knowing that folks are out there. We've got Greg, woo, with sound this time. That's right. And hey, great to have you tune in again. Really appreciate it. Of course, for the first-time viewers, hey, welcome aboard. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to click the likes and the bells and the whistles and all the things you need to do in order to keep up to date with what's going on here at Secret Weapon. In the meantime, let me pop down to the desk cam here and show you what I have going on today. Let me pull up the camera properties so I can do my autofocus off and all of that, and let's get started. So I have some pieces that I was gifted here. Hey, Rico, thank you for the like. So I was gifted some pieces for Gaslands with a shipment of cars from a friend, and today I'm going to be using the Secret Weapon acrylics to paint these up, get a bit of weathering done on them. And the first place I'm going to start with is dark iron and engine metal. There we go. I'm assuming that's in focus for me. There we go. And I'm keeping it really simple today. I actually have a palette I typically use for my oils. And I'm going to start with this. Hey, hey, gas, gas, gas. That's right. Thank you. And put my acrylic on here today, in part because I want to use this surface later with some acrylic on it to show off some other stuff we can do. And I'm starting with the dark iron. I'm loading up a brush, spreading it out, and I'm going to do a bit of dry brushing with this nice big soft brush. I'm doing this fairly dry, and I'm doing it in a rough pattern that changes directions here, making sure I get it from multiple directions but not too heavy, because what I want is that if it'll catch it, let's see if we can do it with a combination of zoom and focus for you. It will get Hey Steve, thank you for liking the stream. Let's see if we can get some of this here. There we go. So you get that rough texture, and that's what I'm going for. Jordan wants to know if the pieces, these are 3D prints. They were a gift from a friend that came with some cars they sent over that they wanted to see me get built up and play with. So this also gives me an excuse to get those done. Get some more Gasland stuff built. Get playing again. Gives me an excuse to show off our awesome Gaslands brass etch pieces too. I love those pieces. As always, a huge shout out to Michael Fichtenmeyer, Industrial Mechanica, who created those and got those to market and worked with us to bring them to more players. So still just slapping on really rough dry brush with the dark iron acrylic. Oh my goodness, that's wow. Look, more comments. All right, I gotta look up from time to time. Thanks to the Zoom in. Hey, yeah, no problem. Happy to do it. Uh, yeah, I look forward to seeing how they fit in with cars later too. I actually haven't tried accessories like this so far. I've just done everything as a combination of either scratch building. Well, it's been a combination of scratch build and our brass hatch. So go figure. I'm going to take out some engine metal now. Ruh-roh. Where are my pokey needles? There's a pokey needle. Remembering with the squeezy bottles, never just keep squeezing or you'll wind up wearing your paint. Alright, so I'm going to take some engine metal, mix it in with my dark iron. Remember to be gentle on the table because I still haven't found a good solution for the desk camera. If anyone has suggestions, I'm always happy to see them in comments or something. How to keep your desk cam from bouncy. What do we have? Yeah, I understand what it's like to have kids take pieces you're attempting to play with. Fortunately for me, my kid has his own Gaslands collection. Maybe that's a solution for your youngest nephew. There is throw them at some cars and be like, all right, here you go. Of course, I don't know how young young is. It might not work as well at 3 as it did at 6, for instance. I'm building this up even lighter than it was before. Just light, 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 light. But I still want it everywhere because I am still getting a nice sheen. I'll zoom in so we can get the detail again, but you can already see how the sheen is working here in the light. And we'll get that nice soft metallic look. I'm going to go in this case more of a highlight. Some edges. Clean this brush now because I need to keep this paint a little wet because I want it to be useful later. The good news is with this, you can keep it wet, thin it, even though I'm not using some sort of wet palette or anything like that. It'll be just fine for a long time here. All right, that one dry. Hey, look, I have another one. What are the odds? The odds are pretty good. There's so many brushes. It's brushes all the way down, man. It's true. All right, so making it just more highlighting. The front of this. I'm gonna be nice and gentle here because I want to keep this one looking good. But there we go. Careful highlights. Maybe I want to add some color to this block. I'm going to do that. I'm going to add some color to some of this. That we have a better idea of what we can do with a little bit of something going on underneath it. Now, this is the first chance I've had to paint since I got back from my Roughing It episode holiday. So I'm actually pulling the mech line right out of the box. I took it with us. Get some. I know where I'm going. I mean, I'm always going the same place. I'm going Comet Red. I'm not saying it's my favorite in the whole wide world, but it is. No, Jordan, in terms of brush choices, should you use specific brushes when working with this type of paint? No, they're just another, artist acrylic paint. really any of the brushes you're using for acrylic are going to work for this, whether they're natural or they're synthetic. I use a lot more synthetic brushes now than I used to, advocate for a lot more synthetic brushes now than I used to. And hey, Justin, hello and welcome. Yeah, and it's fine. I still play with the idea of launching our line of synthetic brushes. I wouldn't do natural. I don't see a reason to do more natural brushes, and frankly, I don't know that the world needs us harvesting a lot more little varmints to make paintbrushes, to be fair. Who knows if we'll run into another issue with imports again, or yeah. Lots of reasons to go synthetic. I say using some of my Sharf naturals. That said, I mean, you can tell this is not a loved brush. It's all bent and tortured. So I'm stippling this on here. So a nice thick coat, but I don't want it to be too smooth because I want to be able to play with a bit of texture while we're weathering the engine. I'm just kind of going around those raised areas. Painting is always more effective if you make noise when you do it, of course. This is a known fact. Was having fun with the family. Part of hey, Travis, good afternoon. Nice to see you back. Always nice. Yeah, I was having fun with the family before this. We took a break for a bit of a late lunch, and realizing that this is the age of YouTube, I decided to hit the tubes and look for some of the places that I was able to travel to before I knew my wife, where I had some of my more interesting random adventures, like living in a cave or on a beach for months at a time. Random things like that. And I was able to find some of these locations today and be like, hey, look, that's my cave. It's probably a lot less glamorous than, hey, that's the beach I camped on for like 8 weeks. So now I'm on a hunt to find more. It started with an episode of Food Ranger that was talking about a market in China that my wife and I had been to together. We were watching like, wow, that looks a lot like the one that we got to go to, and the one that was down the street from our flat. And man, months of shopping in a place like that. Can you imagine? And man, it looked a lot like that. It looked a lot like that. He said the name, and we're like, holy crap, that's our market. And yeah, sparked the idea for me where I'm like, hey, I've got to go looking for some of those random places I've been. All right, so now I've added some color. Let's go ahead and zoom in on these bad boys. Now that I've actually primed and painted these, I love it. I've got to thank my buddy for sending me some cool Gaslands engines. All right, so let's go. Ready? And there we go. So we've got our rough metal look. I'm going to smooth a couple of these. I'm going to smooth this one out so that it's not rough, because they're not usually, but that's fine. But we got a rough one with some color. We've got a rough one without color. And now I'm going to come back with a bit of extra engine metal. Make sure I have the right color. I do. I'll just leave it like this. All zoomy. And I will take, no, we'll leave this one rough. Do the small one nice and shiny. I will do that by still too wet. Just gonna make that a challenge, but you can see even so thin, we don't get tons of separation. I love this paint. Hey, Will, thank you for liking the stream. Much appreciated. Think I got that right? It came and it went. I need to make a persistent notice box for myself. You know, little things as I start getting the hang of this again. Alright, so there's our smooth one, or will be. We'll do a bit more work with that. Let me go ahead and get started playing with some of the effect here. So, let's take our colorful one. Get a bit more light over here. There we are. A bit more of focus. Heck, I can even give you more zoom. Look at that. Coming right for you. Alright. Cool. I have first, where'd they go? Engine fluid, engine grime, your Comet Red, you don't belong there, and engine rust, which together with engine metal, go figure, I made with engines in mind. And these are the colors, of course, that I use when I'm doing that sort of work. So I want to play with some of this first. And the first thing I want to do is talk about how, or be able to demonstrate rather than talk about how different some of these paints are, just because they're formulated that way, formulated for performance, not just color. Color's easy. Everybody sells you color. Everybody will sell you color. Everybody will get paint all gooped up in there when you come back from the mountains because this paint tried to explode, apparently. Go figure. But that's fine. Shake this bad boy up. And let's see, what else do we have? I have my engine grime. But let's shake up... well, we've got Comet Red right there on the palette already. So let me zoom. Let me focus there. Oh, I lost it. I think that's as good as that's going to get. Brass casings. Trouble getting coverage from brass casings. Well, we'll see if we can come back to that. I don't have a lot of trouble with blending, but or getting them to I don't have a lot of trouble with separation or anything, so I haven't had the need for a big shaker or something like that. But we've got some Comet Red down here now. The focus is in on the colors, so I'm going to go ahead and take engine fluid and show what I'm talking about. Bloop, bloop, bloop. As you can see, well, with a bit less shine, you'll be able to see it's a lot different. Straight out of the pot, it is a lot different. Now this has been sitting out for a couple of seconds, but so let's give you a straight out of the pot Comet Red right there. Hey, this bottle's almost empty. Go figure. Nope, it's not going anywhere. So, engine fluid is intentionally in a much thinner base and a translucent base. There's less color overall. Engine grime uses the same base, but with more color, heavier pigmentation. But it starts with a clear base so that it's going to work for you to let that color go through, or the base color shine through. And this one is still going to flow easier than, but you get that nice gray-green, kind of brown, kind of. And hey, Dave Johnson, Miss you too, man. I'm sad that conventions are, well, I miss my convention folk. I'll say that. I'm not sad that conventions aren't happening. I'm very glad that conventions aren't happening. They shouldn't be. So I miss my convention folk, but man, I'm glad to keep everybody safe this year, and I can't wait to give you a big damn hug next year. I'll tell you what, that'll be great. Oh my God, that'll be great. All right. Well, I'm thinking about it. Let me get some of that engine metal over here. Remember to clean my brush this time because I made it too thin last time. And add a little more shine to this thing over here. All right, where was it? I was on this one. We're going to take some engine grime, and I'm going to use it to shade up some of this red there down here. You'll see, I'm going to thin it out just a little bit more. But I'm not coming in as a wash. I'm going to get rid of a lot of that moisture. I'm just pulling it off of here. I'm going to get it in my engine area. Down here on the heads. Get it to pool a bit for me. And I can come over here to some of this acrylic from earlier, which is now very dry. See? And I can, ooh, I've got chatter. I've got to keep up. Put it over here, and you'll see what I mean, that you can see through it. But one of the things I like to do is build this up a bit. Little splooshes. If I'm working on a grimy surface, if I'm trying to add a bit of extra pizzazz, you can map this a bit. Move it around, wick some away, push it from one spot to another. You'll create little tide pools, little mapping. You can have a lot of fun with that. You can do the same thing with your metal to create texture over larger surfaces so that it's not completely uniform. Yeah, conventions will certainly be back together after a few years. I'm really hoping we'll be able to do conventions where everybody understands they need to mask up next year. That we'll have enough vaccination to get people traveling internationally again responsibly and safely between states in the U.S. And if people are willing to take the appropriate precautions like you should, we'll be back to conventions and it'll be great. I'll be one of those with very limited hugs, depending on what I know about my friend's vectors. But I still can't wait. I still can't wait. All right, so that is engine grime that I'm playing with a bit of mapping. And you'll see it's going to map over here too. It's going to be fun. All right, so I'm going to come back over to engine fluid, though. And we're going to, I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to take our, are you dry? Our very dry all metallic guy, and I'm just going to put a drop. Ooh, didn't mean to put it on there. That's right. I'm just going to make it blah everywhere. Blah. And since I don't have my airbrush plugged in and all that, I'm just going to take the model and go blow some of that excess away and get it off of the top, since I didn't want it on the blower to begin with. Now I get, let me change the focus. There we go. That nice blue tint. And I'm going to take some of that, and I'm going to, I mean, obviously that's a heavy-handed application, but I'm going to put some of that over that metallic and engine combo that we had over here. And I'll bring the focus back over there in just a little bit. But we're going to let that sit. Just a little bit of mapping on top of that too, because the next thing I want to show off is engine rust. This one found a lot of popularity with painters like the incredibly talented Jess Rich and Aaron Lovejoy as a flesh highlight, which, once I think about it, makes perfect sense. And I love hearing like what people are doing with some of the products that I designed for one purpose that wind up being used in completely different ways. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so this is engine rust. And in this case, my goal originally was to have a color that I could use over an already weathered piece to get that, well, salmon haze, for lack of anything else to call it, that exists predominantly on old exhaust. So I'm going to pull this up just like a glaze. I'm going to use it as a glaze. Looks like I didn't need to thin it. I'm going to start pulling it onto the engine here. Ooh, how about I bring it back on camera so you can start to see how it's beginning to give it that oxidized look. And I'm going to leave a couple little puddles there on the edge, and we're going to come back to that one. So let's come back over here to this one. We haven't done anything to this one yet. So I have my pieces here. I'm going to take the one in the middle, make the most difference, be the most visible. Give it a nice even coating everywhere. Now I'm going to pool it. Now I like to pool it. I like to pool it, because of the random tide effect that it gives me. But you can do this without any randomness whatsoever, just by glazing it where you want it. And that's just, load it up with my thin paint, get out some of the moisture, pull, pull, pull. Oh, I want some right here. Cool. Let it go. Let's get it blend out. Right there where I was, I can see it's a little tide pool. Ooh, another little tide pool. Ooh, a little too hard. I'm going to pull that layer off with my finger. Welcome to listening to Justin Breathe. There we are. See, so I can do some of that mapping without making it random at all. But what I like, and this is my preference, I mean, you've seen we can do smooth, we can do rough. My preference is always for rough. It's just my preference, though, strictly. And what I like when we're doing something like that is that all of this texture that you're seeing here is all done with acrylic. This is a smooth print. It's a resin print. And all of the texture, that rough metal texture, the weathering, woo, Hugh! Good to have you, buddy. All of that is created with just acrylic. And here's this one. We've let that dry a bit, and you can see the difference between the two around it. Fiddle with the focus a bit just to make sure I can't get it any better. I always want to try and give you the best opportunity to see this. There we go. And then you get got a penny. Let me see. There we go. I've got a handy penny. There we go. That's perfect. All right. So you can see the difference that the engine rust made over the same textured look we got there. And on our mostly smooth piece, I've got the engine rust over the top of that, left to dry in random mapping with the engine fluid under that. So here, pretty much the thing I'm going to do here to wrap us up is take a bit more of the engine fluid, and I have some. There's some already on the palette here. I'm going to take the engine fluid, and I'm going to drop it right on top of this one. I already thinned that down. Let's not thin that down so much. Boop. Little drop. And brush it over the whole surface. Because in addition to some engine fluidiness, I can use this to kind of cheat my heat effect. But I don't necessarily need to cheat that. Ooh. When one of the things I want to cover next time is our heat set. Of course we have a heat set. I mean, of course, I paint hot engines. I've got to have a hot engine paint set. And that's the trick. I mean, if you see me demonstrating it here, it really is what I would use and to paint a model and showing you the techniques that I would use to do so. Yeah. So as I wrap up, any questions about the metallics or the engines? That's right, there was a question about coverage with brass casings. And of course, I happen to have a thing of brass casing right here. Let's shake it, shake it, shake it like a rock and roll band. You're always shaking your eyes. Shaking your eyes. It's a crazy random Spike and Mike cartoon reference for anyone that remembers the days. And it was the apocalypse. What are you even doing? You're shaking your eyes. Like you're in a rock and roll band. Mike Dribble from King of the Hill is actually named after Mike from Spike and Mike's Animation Festival days. Yeah, it was a big part of Circle of Friends growing up here in California. All right. In California, I'm not anywhere near the oceans or the exciting fun parts. Gosh, that'd be neat. All right, so I have a brush. I'm going to get it wet. I'm going to get it dry. I'm going to take some brass casings. I'm going to spread it out. Now this is directly over HDPE, high density polyethylene. It is specifically designed not to hold paint. That's what your trash cans and such are made out of. That's why it makes a nice palette. But I'm just spreading this out back and forth and back and forth, back and forth. Ooh, of course I'm way out of focus because I went ahead and I closed the controls for that because I was wrapping up. So let's go ahead and camera control, focus. There we go. So I haven't added any more water, and this is mostly dry. And again, over HDPE, I feel like I'm getting pretty good coverage. So I don't know. Yeah, let me know what the application was, what you're doing. Of course, anytime there's a question about the paints, any of our products, I'd love to address them, especially if you have a concern either about quality, coverage, usage. Yeah, I'm here. And I'll see what I can do to do an episode where I'm playing with brass casings a bit more, and yeah, do something specific to put it through its paces and have some fun. Maybe give us some extra brass and copper verdigris. Who knows? It'll be a good time. In the meantime, of course, happy hobbying. Thank you for tuning in. Again, first timers, please remember to like and subscribe and the bells and the whistles and all the things that you need to do in order to make sure you're keeping up with the goings on here at the Secret Weapon home studio right now, at least. And yeah, as always too, if there's something you want to see covered, it's not just our product. There's a technique or something in the weathering world that you want to see covered, let me know, and I'll do my best to make a video just for you. Shout out today again to Daniel H., who gave the suggestion for today's episode. Cheers, everyone. Happy hobbying, and I will catch you next week for